This semester's going fast, and the next one will be even faster. So when it comes to graduation time, you've got to ask yourself, am I ready? Hello everybody, welcome back to TVU, our special education series here on the Variable channel. Before we jump into our special student spotlight, we've got to talk a little bit more about this, guys, because graduation's coming and a lot of you aren't even ready. If you haven't even started looking for your first gig yet, you're behind. So rather than making the telltale mistake that most designers do,
hey, my name is Russ. I was wondering if I could meet you for coffee.
Don't get me wrong, sometimes that works and that's all it takes. But there's a better way. When it comes to sales, there's the rule of 7, which means that statistically you have a much higher success rate when it comes to closing sales if you've made 7 points of interaction with people. So I don't care how good your portfolio is, if you really want to up your chances of connecting with people and getting that job, you're going to have to use the same rule. So you might do things a little bit differently, but here's an example of 7 points of interaction that could lead to a job. 1, follow the person that you're trying to work for on social media. Puts a little blip on their radar. 2, interact with their content. I'm not saying just put a few likes on their last post that they put on LinkedIn. I think that you should do a little bit more. Interact with their content and don't just magically jump onto step 3 after you've done this once. Do it for like a week. We're running a marathon here, guys, and this shouldn't be just one gamble that you're making. All the eggs can't be in this one basket. You have a number of different companies that you're doing this with at the same time. So after you've done this for about a week, write them an invitation to connect on LinkedIn. A custom one. Dear John, I've really enjoyed the content that you've been putting out for the last week. I always find it helpful to connect with like-minded designers. Would love to have you as part of my network. Russ. So after you've connected with them on LinkedIn, you send them a brief message that just says, hey, thanks so much for connecting with me. I appreciate it. And that's it. Now, this next step may seem like it's sneaky, but you've got to be genuine about it, and it won't be. You call up the company, whoever you're wanting to talk with and eventually work for, and you say, hi, my name is Russ. I'm a senior industrial design student at XYZ University, and as part of a passion project that we're putting together as student body, we're publishing a series of articles that feature some of the top design studios in our area, and I would like, if it's okay with you, to swing by your studio for about 30 minutes to see it and ask you a few questions on a specific topics that we can include in the article and have published. Is Thursday or Friday a good day for me to be able to swing by and do that with you? Thursday or Friday might not be a good day for them, but they'll likely say, well, not Thursday or Friday, but next Monday I do have some time, and that would be great. When you finally have the meeting set, date and time, you do your homework and you make it all about this article that you're writing, and you're genuine about that. And when you get there, you need to have some well thought out questions and put down on paper, because you don't want to get in there and look like a fool. This is your opportunity to see, is this a good company for you to work for? While you're conducting the interview, you might ask some questions that clarify, okay, well, the company started off like this, this, and this. Where's the future of the company? Where's it going right now? And what's the next thing that you're trying to accomplish? Just saying, what are the goals of where the future of the company will allow you to point out some things that they could possibly need help with. And as you further interact with them, you're gonna provide an offering of solutions and help for them to grow, because ultimately that's what an employee is supposed to be, a solution to making the company grow and making their lives easier. Like I said, you're not trying to be sneaky here at the end. You can be absolutely genuine. If you think it's a good fit, you say, hey, I am genuinely impressed with everything that I've seen here. You guys have built a great company. I can see why a number of students have said that they would love to work here. In fact, full disclosure, I know I would love to work here someday. I don't know what your circumstances are like right now, but I'd love to stay in touch. Do you mind if I've got a digital copy of my resume? What's a good email that I can send that to so that I can stay on your guys' radar should an opening present itself for an internship or a junior level position that I might be considered. And then you close, say again, hey, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to meet with me. I will send you an email directly as soon as this article is written and published. And then when it does get published, you do send that email. And here's the thing. If you actually write this article, you can publish it on your own blog section of your portfolio website, and you should send it to us. We will gladly feature studio spotlight articles in our blog on The Variable. You say, hey, your studio is featured on The Variable. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. There's the link. So there you have it. 7 points of possible interaction. When it comes down to the crunch time and you would like to put your name on the line and say, I'd like to work for you, they know who you are. So much more than just a cold call or an email. Keep that in mind. All right, so stick around. After this brief message, we are going to kick things off with our Mentor Mash here on the TVU Student Spotlight program, and after which we'll be introducing our Student Spotlight. So don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, welcome to our Student Spotlight. I'm glad to have you with us. And to start things off, I am really excited to be kicking things off with our Mentor Mash. We have some excellent mentors who are joining us here on the show, and we have a prompt that we are essentially going to listen to this prompt. We're going to open up the lines and allow everybody to weigh in. But I thought it would be wise, before we do that, I think it's good that I introduced my co-host here on today's episode, the one and only Andre Koten. Andre, tell everybody who you are and give yourself a little introduction, buddy.
Hey, howdy everyone. My name is Andre Koten. I am a solution architect with IDSA System and a longtime friend of Russ.
So I was going to say, you got to give him a little bit of context here, because Andre and I have done an episode. If you haven't checked it out, we do take the audio from our YouTube channel and we publish it as a podcast. We had an excellent first season, and Andre Koten joined me for the season wrap-up. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely need to do that. Andre and I both attended Arizona State University together. He's my brother from another mother. We love having him. We do have a number of other fantastic guests that are joining us today. Why don't we have you all unmute yourself, and we'll go down the line, starting with the fabulous Leah Stewart. Say hello to the crew and introduce everybody to who you are. Well, come on, Leah. Can you?
Hey, Russ.
There we go. Going good.
Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no problem. Leah also. Oh, I should put that out there as well. Leah has been on The Variable. She was on a podcast, but she's yet to be featured on our live YouTube channel. So, Leah, tell everybody who you are, and then we'll work through the lineup. Following Leah, we'll have Justin come up next.
Sure, thanks. I am a senior manager of industrial design at Newell Brands, which is a big company, makes a lot of consumer goods, and my team works on baby gear.
Awesome. All right, Justin, why don't you introduce yourself? If you're unmuted, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry.
There we go.
What's happening? Hey, I'm Justin Adler. I'm a team leader for the industrial design group at Eaton. It's a power management company. It's a global power management company, actually. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you. And then joining us as well, we also have Tanner Green. Tanner, why don't you unmute yourself and then to give a quick introduction?
Sure. Thanks, Russ. Hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
My name's Tanner Green. I'm a mechanical engineer. I feel like I'm a little bit out of place here, but my background is mechanical engineering, and I've worked at companies like Intel and Raytheon, both in equipment and process development or research and development, and then mechanical design. So a lot of things related to manufacturing. And yeah, that's my background. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all of you joining us for our Mentor Mash. The prompt that we're going to be looking at today is taken from the latest guest that we had on the show, Michael Janda, who is awesome. If you guys haven't checked out that episode, definitely take an opportunity to do it. I'm going to play a brief clip. It wasn't from our episode, but it was from another one. And that's going to be our topic of discussion as we open up our Mentor Mash preceding the Student Spotlight. So here we go. I'm going to cue that up.
I don't know if it's like being too humble or something, or if it's just I don't want to show off too much, or if it doesn't matter anymore. And I'll probably say that it doesn't matter anymore, because here's the reality. My first book is called Burn Your Portfolio, and the concept behind Burn Your Portfolio is that at some point you build reputation and people buy because you have built a reputation, and that's what they're purchasing from, not because they saw your portfolio. It doesn't matter nearly as much anymore that what my portfolio looks like. What matters is that, oh, I heard of Mike Janda. He's that guy on Instagram. Oh, I love his content. Oh, I follow him. Oh, I read his books. So good. And that's the reputation that happens. Now, if somebody really wants to dig in, I do have the work on there, but it is buried a couple clicks deep.
All right. So, being that you are the co-host, Andre, I'm going to just throw you right under the bus and have us start with you. But question that I have for you guys, and you mentors are all going to have an opportunity to weigh in. Don't worry. One, you agree. You agree that eventually it comes down to reputation in the portfolio. You can burn it. So that's my question for you. And two, if that is the case, how the heck do new people who are just starting off build reputation?
I was just about to get there. I'm just picturing some students right now, just like, oh no, here's 2 months, and then just like lighting it on fire and like, okay, now what? So I think this is appropriate for a certain aspect of where you are in your career. I certainly have gotten to the point where I get to lean on the work and the relationships that I've built with other companies and other people. And at a certain point in your career, you get to start reaping the fruit from those seeds that you've been planting throughout your early days in your career, right?
Yeah.
But I think that is not a starting point for folks, but it's in fact a guide to where you're going to be. And so as a student, don't burn your portfolio. You need that. Right. But keep that in mind as you start to develop those relationships to get your first job and start to develop your career as a freelancer, whatever the case may be, that eventually you'll get to the point where it matters less, right? Notice that he said it's still there. You have to kind of work to it on his website.
It's down on his website a little deeper.
But it's something that you're going to be building towards, right? This is not a end all be all part of this is not the full state, right? This is a state in a process. Yeah. So that's my take.
Okay, that's your take. So we're gonna go popcorn Leah here. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us what your thoughts are?
Well, I had a gut reaction at first. So no, I don't feel the same way.
Oh, okay.
My brain, a couple of minutes takes 30 seconds. Like, all right, what in it could be a yes? That I would believe it in that statement. And I think when you're talking about it matters to who. So it's maybe, do you think means success? And then take that forward to then what matters. So if he's talking about maybe success was getting a lot of followers, or that is his metric, then yeah, maybe his portfolio doesn't matter as much. Mm-hmm. Success is looking at my breadth of work and feeling good about that, seeing it out in the marketplace, etc. I don't know. I wouldn't say burn your portfolio.
You say don't
be
burn
also
your portfolio.
who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're trying to go get a job, no matter what level you're at, the things that you've made before do matter.
Yeah.
How you speak to them and how other people think about you, like that matters a lot too. People want to work with you have a bad character and a great looking portfolio. That's not going to work.
That's not going to work. Well, I think that you're tying in, at least you can agree on the sense that reputation does help.
Yes.
But it isn't so standalone that we can completely torch what we've built in our portfolios. And I don't think that Michael would say maybe that's an extreme for the topic of his book to call it burn your portfolio. I don't know that he would say completely get rid of it, but perhaps I think the message that he's stressing is the value of reputation, and it gets to the point where you need to start stressing reputation over. I don't know. I can't speak for him.
Or maybe you're trying to be a lecturer, and so it's not good, but how you speak about it. So it depends what your goal is.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, Justin, why don't you weigh in on this thought right quick? Come on and tell us, as we're here on the Mentor Mesh, what you think.
Yeah. Don't burn your portfolio.
Don't burn it.
I think that he is really good at what he does, and that's an awesome title for a book. Absolutely. But I'm still hiring senior designers, and the portfolio weighs heavy. Yeah, your reputation should get you the opportunity, maybe. But what if you just move to a new state and nobody knows who you are or whatever? Also, maybe burn your portfolio if you have a book.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what I mean? Like, you wrote a book, burn your portfolio. You have a podcast. I get that. That might be a more effective way to reach more people. Sure. As we're on right now, right? But no, I would not burn your portfolio. I think it should probably just start to tell a more mature story about your work and your background. The other thing I thought that I could bring in value is to, even at like maybe Leah's position, where you're a senior manager, she still has to lead people. And so her work is going to matter. Like, in order to lead designers, they need to kind of see you have the chops.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then take it a step further then, Justin, before we move on. I want to know, like, what would, if you, I don't think anybody disagrees that reputation is helpful and is important. So what are some of the things that you would do then? Ground zero, I just graduated. How can I start building some kind of a reputation for myself? I know all of us can't be Scott Henderson, Tucker V. Meisters, and Michael DeTulos out there right out the gate. They started somewhere and they worked their way up, and now they're reputable names in the industry and so forth. So, I mean, and I know that's not success that we're just labeling. Everybody's dream is to have that level of recognition and stuff, but they're doing something right to put a name out for themselves, and maybe there's some kind of a pattern that would be beneficial for people starting off, so that at least when you are putting in your resume, they recognize you. Oh, Justin, yeah, I know that guy. He did this and that and whatever. He's got, by the way, a awesome Clubhouse channel that regularly meets and discusses design stuff. You haven't thrown that out there, you're welcome to I'll put the plug in for you. So people who enjoy talking design, you should find Justin on Zoom, connect with him, and join in his Clubhouse discussions. They're always at the time whenever I one time was washing dishes on the Clubhouse call, and everybody's like, I really hope somebody's washing dishes and not taking a bath right now. And I was like, I promise, it's dishes. I promise, guys. Anyhow, so I digress. But back to the question, how do we start with reputation? Because I feel like probably they look at this Mount Everest of a task. I'm just trying to get in the door. How do I build a reputation too, so that my profession can grow, and so on and so forth? Well, I mean, what do you tell them? Because it's just one bite at a time, but what's the first bite?
I think Leah hit it on the get-go. It depends on what your goals are. What you were describing as what we all aspire for and towards, I don't agree. That's not what I'm shooting for. You're
not shooting for big status.
I'm not. I'm okay being in the background and letting my product speak for itself. Success for me is putting food on the table, a roof over my head, and a successful family life, right? And so...
But I would go to argue, though, Andre, you do have a reputation, and anybody who has interacted with you, who does know who you are, knows that. that big smile, that large, happy character, and not only that, what you bring to the table when it comes to work, your background, your experience, and your attention to like there's stuff that becomes associated with you over the years. So I guess there's nothing to do as far as at the beginning. What do you do to build a reputation? Just work your ass off and do a good job, and then people will be happy with what you do. Like, I don't know.
There's hard skills, right? There's the technical skills, and then there's the human skills of being. And I think a few of us have already touched on this, of being a good human being, being someone that customers and your coworkers and your management, your stakeholders all want to interact with and feel heard when they engage with you, feel understood when they engage with you. And those, once again, are skills, they are, that you can develop, and eventually that comes naturally with normal work. And you can certainly be mindful of it as you progress through your career. But this is something that is practiced, and through mentorship and through engagement with your peers, you can refine it and get that feedback of, hey, you were kind of mean in there, or you were really abrupt, you cut off the customer, whatever the case may be, and get that feedback and grow as a person. Those are those human skills attached to those technical skills. So CATIA, SolidWorks, and all the rest of the tools that we
your
use.
Portfolio. Yeah, all the good stuff. Okay, we do want to give Tanner a second to pipe in as well, because he's joining us.
I feel like I might have to just jump in here. This is a great conversation.
Dude, jump on in.
Let me the thoughts I had as I was listening to everybody. I come at it from a different perspective, right? I've been in the engineering world, so I'm more on the technical side of things. I'm very heavy into the skills. The thought was the reputation and the portfolio. I don't know how you can really separate the two. And what I mean by that is, what is the reputation? The reputation is really, it is the perception that others have of you and how much they can trust you. Like that's the reputation. That's how I would describe it. And, I was thinking about, there's a book, The Speed of Trust. It's written by Stephen M.R. Covey. And in it, he says that trust is made of two things. It's character and competency. And when I think about those, so the character, I felt like the prompt was kind of saying, yeah, it's just all about your character. But you have to have character and you have to have competency. And the portfolio shows the competency. It shows the results that you've been able to achieve. And, I thought about an experience. I'll share this and then I'll let you guys jump back in. But there was an experience I had with a reputation. As an engineer, part of my responsibilities was not only to design, but if something broke and went wrong in manufacturing, I was the one that got the phone call to come in and fix it. Yeah. And the challenge that I had, there was one time we had a very critical piece of equipment break. And I got the call several hours into the repair that something was seriously damaged and needed to come in. And I walked in and found the shift supervisor, the equipment supervisor, the manufacturing supervisor, and then the factory manager all standing around this equipment waiting for me. And when I walked in, all I did is I walked up to the tool to start working on it. And the factory manager looked at my name badge and said, "Oh, you're Tanner. Great. Here we go." Like it was very clear he had heard some reputation, but what he pulled me aside later and said, "Hey, I hope I didn't, put you on the spot there." But he said, "I knew when you arrived, I knew we'd get it fixed." And that was the case. So I think it's so critical in showing the results. So I think the idea of burning the portfolio, well, I just don't know that you really can separate that. You have to show results. You have to show some way of achieving stuff. So those are my thoughts about it.
Oh, those are good thoughts. And if I were going to
I don't know if it's like being...
Michael Janda just really wanted to make another appearance to all of you guys again. Sorry about that. So if I were going to wrap things up in lots of great points there. You can't put a hard wall between the two, the hard skills, the portfolio, and the character. I think that in Michael's defense, I would almost say that his argument is that are we talking about the reputation at all or enough? and likely he overemphasizes the fact that you need to have reputation only because all we're focused on is, I got to redo my portfolio. But if you're just a pain to work with and nobody enjoys working with you and you're just such, when people go, whenever they hear your name, then you need to do something about it. Or you want to weigh in, Leah?
I did have a word I wanted to throw in real quick.
Go ahead.
Just a word. The word is exposure. So, you had started off with the 7 impressions, and you need exposure, right? Like no matter how you get that exposure, and every single individual has their tactic. It may be speaking publicly, maybe writing a book, it may be just showcasing your work because you're a quiet human being. I would argue you need all these things to get those 7 impressions. Otherwise, it's just like somebody calling you 7 times. I'd rather you call me, email me, show me your work, and then have a drink, right? So I think it's about exposure. And art show.
And to piggyback off of that too, I don't want people to get the wrong, but I illustrated 7 possible things that you could do to get those point of interaction. Really, that's not necessarily the magic formula. Everybody's going to have their own approach that's going to work best for them. And I think that's a valid point to make. But by doing that, to gain the exposure, that is very closely tied to our reputation that we're building for ourselves, in the way that you go about it just adds your own branding and flavor to it. Andre, was there something else that you wanted to pipe in and say before we move on to our next segment?
No, sir. That's an excellent wrap up.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everybody. Well, next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be breaking to a commercial real quick. And following that, we're going to get our student spotlight up here front and center. I'm anxious to hear from you. So are you. So you guys stick around and don't you go anywhere.
In this course, I'm going to show you a side of industrial design that I don't think has ever been taught before. Maybe you're a design student, a recent grad, an entrepreneur, an engineer, or maybe it's your first step into industrial design. This course will help you to understand what great industrial design is and how to achieve it in your own work. My name is John Moriello. I've been working professionally as an industrial designer for over a decade with some of the biggest brands in the world. I also teach industrial design at California College of the Arts. I've turned dozens of students into capable designers who understand form, design language, and visual storytelling. These skills will define your ability to get a design job and defend your design decisions to clients and other stakeholders. I'll teach you all about design analysis, creating evocative forms, crafting a conceptual narrative, and finding design inspiration everywhere. I even show you how I design a product from initial inspiration all the way through to final prototype and fabrication. You'll also learn how to present your work in a way that will help you to land your dream job or dream client. I'm sure you know what great industrial design looks like, but you might struggle to consistently recreate it in your own work. I know that frustration. I've been there before. There was no formal process around understanding and applying the principles of great industrial design and visual storytelling. Developing my teaching process came down to thousands of hours of cold, hard analysis. It was a slow, grueling process that took over a decade. I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Everything I've learned, perfected, stolen, and understood is in this course. And if you want to learn how to unlock your full potential as an industrial designer, this is the course for you. Go check out industrialdesigntheory.com if you want to learn more. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day.
You're watching TVU. All right, welcome back, everybody. I know it's the moment that you've all been waiting for. Allow me to introduce today's Student Spotlight speaker, the one and only Tati Feruccio. Tati is an industrial designer who creates clever products and experiences that are affordable, fun, and environmentally responsible. Born in Rio and currently working in New York City, she has 3 years of experience working with design and innovation in Brazil and in the United States. Throughout her career, Tati has designed for a wide range of markets such as toys, urban furniture, and home appliances. This exposure empowers her to push the limits regarding design, manufacturing, and sustainability in corporate and consultancy environments. As a proud Brazilian designer, Tati believes design has to be addressed by multicultural and sustainable lenses. As a core part of her work, she intends to solve complexity to deliver simplicity. Design is about questioning today to create a more equal and sustainable future. Tati, thanks for joining us here on The Variable. We're glad to have you with us today.
Happy to be here. It's so cool to be here today.
Well, Tati, we are excited to have you. Well, not Andre yet. Goodness, we've seen enough of Andre. No, Tati, you are a very, very special student spotlight because the project that you are presenting for us today isn't just any run-of-the-mill project. This got you a nice fancy award. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this award that you got as I get your PDF queued up for everybody to see?
Yeah, sure. So I applied as an RIT student for the Graduate Student Merit Award from IDSA. And I just applied with the material that I have from RIT and all the work that I've been doing from my internships and my previous job experiences. And yeah, and I was selected, and I feel so honored to be part of this selected group of creatives and designers that are featured on IDSA Student Merit Award.
Wow. We've enjoyed. Congratulations to winning that award. You certainly deserve it. We are excited to have you present the project that you did there. And then also, like, this is an opportunity for us to, the way that I like to position it for students who are presenting, I'm like, consider this like we're a panel. We're not like judging you to give you a score or anything, but do it as if we're going to have a job interview and you're I won't flatter myself in saying, oh, you're trying to get a job at The Variable, but whatever floats your boat. You can imagine whatever company you want to, you're presenting this as if you're trying to get a job. And obviously the feedback that we'll be giving you is based off of impressions that we've had from your work, which is already good. It speaks for itself, but everybody can always improve. So I don't know, anything else, Andre, that you wanted to chime in before we have her get going on her presentation?
No, let's jump in. This is an amazing presentation.
I know, we're excited. So Tati, here we are. Tell us a little bit about what the idea was, how you got this concept going, and what was the different parameters for this deliverable.
Yeah, so this project was developed as my thesis project at RIT. And as my previous experiences working in the United States, I did an internship at GE Appliances. So I learned a lot about construction of fridges and cooktops and all those items that we use currently on our kitchen environments.
Sure. And
that was the first point that got me thinking about this project. If you can go to the next slide, Russ, please. Yeah, so I was thinking about the way that we interact with our food today has been changing through generations. We are eating more fruits and vegetables. We care a lot about where this food comes from, and we are less and less eating food from animal source and less things that are related to that diety. Yeah, Russ, I don't think the slides are going through. Just having some little technical issues.
We see the main first.
The main presentation. Yeah, the first cover. There we go.
Oh.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. Yeah, and then yeah, and then I was looking into like how our diet actually impacts the way that we live and the quality of the life that we're gonna have through the years. And I realized that I wanted to develop a project that would empower people to eat healthier, but also in a way that they are wasting less food and we are more sustainable in our own home environments. Next one, Russ, please. And through the research, I was looking into the next generation of buyers, right? Like the next generation that is going to be buying appliances. They are the millennials. And I was looking into the fact that they are redefining what healthy means. Healthy is not about having the nicest shape or exercising tons of hours a day. For them, it really is where they get their food, if it's local source, if it's sustainable, if it's fresh, and then understanding that healthy eating, it's more about the quality of the food that you're putting in your table and not necessarily the way your body looks to anyone. The other very interesting thing is the fact that we're very connected and we are learning how to do anything on the internet. So taking this idea of being open-minded to learn new things and create recipes, it's also a very key point for this generation. And thinking through the fact that they didn't actually learn how to cook with their parents because their parents were cooking less than the previous generations. It was also another point of looking this as an opportunity to engage them on learning how to cook and prepare more healthy meals instead of going every time on a restaurant or just getting fast food because it's faster or convenient. And then I started to look to the problem and some specific habits that people have. And the very first thing that was very interesting is the fact that people is looking for convenience because they don't have time and they just want to get things fast and easy for them. The other 2 points that are really important, it's organization and planning. So that helps them to make decisions and also be very efficient with their time to cook the meals that they need to cook and making sure that they are not wasting food and they can decide right away what kind of meal they're planning for the week. I also was looking into the current products that we have today, the fridges and the small appliances that we use. And there is not a really dedicated space designed for fruits and vegetables on your fridge. They go to a drawer that it's opaque. You don't see the materials that are there. They get spoiled really soon because you forgot about them on your fridge. So that's one of the opportunities I found with this project. Yeah.
Yes.
And definitely introducing and definitely thinking about like how technology and being together could be combined in a very meaningful way. We look into technology for searching recipes and finding good content, but we also like to cook together and have someone close to us doing this process to make it more a delightful moment together. So then when I started ideation, I was really looking into a broad sense of health eating and how could I find windows of opportunity where I could actually make an impact for my customer or my user. And I was looking into the storage of fruits and vegetables, preparation of those items through a recipe, the dinnerware that we use, how could that dinnerware could be helpful to promote health eating, the cleaning process, which is something that all of us hate to do. So how can we clean it faster or make that less a burden for people so then they could be willing to cook more? And the digital experiences that could be around this experience and the interaction of cooking as well. I started looking into 2 concepts that I'm going to present here that were more or less where I landed for this project. One is this kind of like weird fridge configuration that could be dedicated for fruits and vegetables. And you could track what are the items you have inside the fridge and be able to do this management and the storage in a very efficient way. Also creating like a real-time grocery list if you were going to the supermarket to get stuff, you know. And the second concept, it was a more digital experience where you could have a camera tracking your movements on the countertop and guiding you through the recipe, saying use this knife or use this pan accordingly to the amount of food you're cooking. and what are where to put the ingredients on the table. So really leading the person that it's learning how to cook through the experience and through the recipe. And then I understood that for what I was trying to do, the final design that I was looking for, it had to be a combination of this passive use of this product, which means that this product would do the storage, manage it, and climate control of my produce, and be sure that this is not going to spoil and I don't need to be checking this all the time. But it needs to have an active use as well, because that's the main issue. We just throw things on the fridge and we walk away, and we don't really remember about eating them. So how could I engage the user to be connected to these appliances in a way that they remember about eating the food that it's on the fridge, and be engaged on healthy habits instead of just rely on the passive use of an appliances product. And then I came back to ideation, looking into how could I put these two experiences together, and thinking about what are the items that it would make sense and the features that would make sense for this customer. Thinking about the storage, the organization of those items inside the machine, the inventory management, the organization of everything, the preparation area. I wanted to have a dedicated area where you can actively prepare this food, and also providing to this customer a possibility to learn how to cook through food content, or if they have a recipe or a chef that they follow that they really would like to learn how to do a specific recipe. So all of that was connected into this ideation, and trying to find what were the features that were interesting to them. And I did some volume studies, thinking about how these things could fit on the kitchen environment, and looking into a way to place them on an environment that already exists, and not trying to make something that it's a burden for people to install in their homes or anything like that. And the next slide, the rest. And then I was looking into the size of this machine and how much stuff I could fit inside, as well. What were the activities that I could promote on the top of the surface of this product that people could actively use to cook. And some more models, I landed up on this configuration that was a mini fridge, since it was the one that made more sense for the kitchen environment, because it would be easier to install in a home, and would be more approachable to consumers. And I did some user testing, looking into a more structured research with people, thinking about the product size, the proportions of the items that would go inside, the layout of the food. Is it better to have all the food containers in one side and fruits and vegetables on the other one, or is everything mixed together make sense for the consumer? I was looking into those answers from my research, and also thinking about what were the beneficial points of the digital experience being hanging on the wall, and you'll be able to interact with that very closely. I did a lot of user testing. I talked with a lot of people, especially my classmates, because they were all on potential clients, potential users for me. And it was really cool to see how they pointed out to different perspectives, since they also have different backgrounds. And it was cool to see what features they were more attracted to, and which ones they thought that were not necessarily to their home environment. And that was the final design that I land on. It is a combination of 3 specific interactions and experiences in one single product. So we have the produce refrigeration, the preparation area, and the multimedia interface that I'm gonna walk through on the next slides. The first one is the produce refrigeration. So the temperature is controlled from top to bottom, to be colder on the top, where you're storing leafy greens and small berries that needs to be in a colder environment. The middle section, it's for general fruits and vegetables. They don't need to be in a very cold environment. They can live in a environment that it's a little bit warmer. And the bottom part, it's actually a flexible zone where you can remove the tray, put underneath, and then you have space for watermelons or pineapples, fruits that are bigger to store on this machine. I was looking into the organization of the items. So I have a organization tray where you can slide the divider accordingly to the amount of food you have to separate in between. So it's perfect for strawberries, small berries, and all these little items that are hard to store it in a long configuration. And you also have the flexible tray where you have these removable containers that you can just have healthy snacks and take it to the outside environment. So if you're going to school or to work or to the gym and you want to bring something healthy to eat in the break time you have, you can just literally remove the containers from the machine and then put it back once you clean it and store it something else. The preparation area, it's again the active use of the space, and it was made to engage people to be active and playing with these appliances. It has this removable tray that you can see on the image that is being held. So then it allows you to move around your kitchen. If you're chopping something or if you are cooking something on the surface, you can move around your kitchen environment and use that as a good way to transport the material you're working with. It has as again I said, there's the spacing where you can chop items, put things on the top, and work that as your workflow for cooking. But it also allows you to plug small appliances if you want to do a smoothie or a toaster or a sandwich. You call it. You can do basically anything that relates to having small appliances as part of the user experience. And then the multimedia interface, it's a way of expanding this experience to connecting the user to food content, cooking tutorials. You could also call a family or a friend and talk with them about a specific meal that they know. So if I wanted to call my grandma and say, hey, grandma, I want to learn how to do that pasta that you do really well, so then I can closely talk to her in a very humanized way, because she's literally in front of me and we can talk while I'm cooking. So then it also works with voice control. We don't really need to touch anything to make this experience more comfortable, almost as a window to another experience together with this product. And again, showing the multiple possibilities that you have with this product. As you can call people, you can use for cooking tutorials, inventory management. You know how much food you have. You know when the food is going to spoil. So you also can recommend you recipes that allows you to use those items that it's going to spoil soon. So then you're sure that you're not wasting food anymore, and you're very aware of the things you have on your home environment. And that's a study I've done in CMF and thinking through potential scenarios and potential environments that this machine could live on, and thinking about the trends that are coming for appliances and how people are really humanizing the appliances experience to the home environment, because everything's getting so connected that whenever you want to buy a new product, you want to make sure that it fits to your home environment and it feels comfortable to you. And that's it. Thank you so much. I have my Instagram and email if anyone wants to reach out. But yes, that was the French fridge.
That was it. So, okay.
I think it's very evident. I think it's very evident on why you took that prize home.
Yeah.
Very well thought out.
Very well thought out.
You mentioned that this was something that you did as a student.
Yes.
And that means most likely you have now presented this content or a portion of it to get a job. How was that engaged and how was that received when you did that?
It was interesting because the job that I am performing now, it's not necessarily on the same industry. But I think the process and the way that I was investigating this context made all sense to the job that I'm doing now, which is very based on observation and understanding how customers and users behave towards the products that I'm trying to put on the market and on the real world. So I would say that definitely like the process and showing that, okay, I talked with people and that didn't work, so I went this way, or that was really accepted from my consumer market, so I'll go that way, you know. I think that was the thought process around this project was basically what I think it instigated people whenever I was doing interviews.
That's fair. When you were looking at what, and the student perspective, right, of this is how I think design is done in the real world, right, of, and you've laid that out very clearly in there. Do you look back at this and say, does this actually reflect my process today?
Yeah, so a lot does, because I think I feel that like since I was a student and coming back now as a professional and developing my skills, I feel that I'm adding layers to it, and definitely
Sure.
the layer of sustainability, but also the layer of understanding cultural behaviors and understanding how people engage with products. It makes sense to me to design this thing. Like it made sense to look for the experience that I had on the past and looking into, okay, with this knowledge that I have, what is the next step? Like what could I do to improve this experience? Maybe not in the real world now, because it is hard to get innovation through companies in the majority of the time, but how could I pitch something that comes next, you know? So I think that was the valuable lesson that I had from the years of experience, and that layer being added to this project that was the recent thing that I've done.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah.
The rest of the mentors, you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna set this up so that some of you guys can
I'll jump in,
on
Russ.
Okay, go ahead.
So you could tell Tati had right visuals, right process. The idea is clearly tied to the user needs. So it's hard to give feedback, obviously, the people that see this, but I have one suggestion. So if this were a real interview, and she even mentioned it, it's probably not going to be to a company that makes refrigerated produce refrigerators. And it might not even be to a designer. You might be interviewing also with HR, marketing, engineering, etc. You might flip your script. So you might start off and say, like, imagine if you could prep healthy meals, keep your food longer, and do it all while you're talking to your grandma. You know, kind of start off with the
marketing pitch.
Yeah.
Marketing pitch.
Yeah.
And show some of the hero images, like the big reveal, and then go back to how you got there. Because it's like it's a while kind of like waiting, like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna look like? And you might lose some people.
Yeah.
Designers that they're not as familiar with the process, and you might be losing them.
But I will say,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tati, you did a very good job with your hero shots. Very clean, very professional presentation that you've put out on there. Attention to detail as far as like a couple times I'm like, are those renderings? Wait a second. Like, did she?
Thank you.
Did she like photograph a thing? Hang on a second. Okay, it is a rendering, but very well done. So something that I here I am, everybody's like, here's a cool way that you could change your approach, and they have these deep thoughts, and I'm like, I think you made pretty pictures. but I think that has something that does have a lot going for you, in the fact that you do need to be able to present your work in a compelling, very clear, clean way. And it doesn't matter that the final solution, it could be presented like you did, very clear, story tells itself very quickly. You can flip through those slides and you get the gist of what's going on. If I took all of that and I just spoiled it with tons and tons of copy in some of those early dirty sketches that, you know, do have value to some, and I think that if we wanted to see that, we'd say, can we see some of the early sketches that you've got? Like, that's kind of its own, well, if you want that, like, sure, we'll give it to you. I don't know. Perhaps other people have different opinions, but like the Sharpie sketches on little notepads and so forth. Maybe if you can like set it up nicely on a table and take a nice shot. I don't know. I'm not so much interested in that, but the way that you presented it was very compelling and did a good job. So I don't know. Other mentors who want to weigh in on their thoughts.
Sure. I totally agree with Leah about flipping it. I've probably given that feedback myself in the past.
Sure.
Really giving people the big idea at first, it just allows them to kind of connect themselves with the rest of the development process. So I just wanted to like second that. And great language. The other, I was trying to think of the designer side, and what I was thinking is showing something you bumped into that caused a pivot. You know, not a million of them, but you know, I was definitely waiting to see you working with people, and it was like a note, and then you're like, next slide, like here's me working with people, and I always think like one quote from that is very human, and it really connects fast. So like just a large quote, like a takeaway, is really important to me as I'm going through this. We've seen so many portfolios. By the time you make it to the interview, we already know you're like fit for that. So I always think like, what are they going to bring when they show up for the interview, and how do we connect more? So yeah, definitely just maybe digging in one more level. I think you did a great job at brevity and wrapping this entire project up into a few slides. Super important skill. You did it. You won, right? But just like to dig a little and give you some insight, I'd say, you know, maybe have that batch of slides that says like, actually, when I talk to people, these were like some really human takeaways. That just adds a lot of color to it, and I can feel it more. So yeah, maybe just a little more interpersonal. And then the pivot, right? The takeaway and the pivot, takeaway and the pivot.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Yeah. I love it. I loved, oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Like the wooden feet, like something so simple, very homey, right? Like, so
Sure.
Just, I did want to like shout out, like the window in the front so I can see the vegetables and experience them was cool. I love that. I would have probably tried to push the limit of that, because nowadays you can probably make a thinner border. You know, they would hate you for it, but you'd be working on it.
We'll let the engineer pipe in on that.
Yes.
I think that was kind of a feature, and that's kind of like your point, is to celebrate vegetables. So I would push to optimize that. And then, yeah, the wooden feet and like tying that with the board was just enough to like make it more homey. So yeah, beautiful work. I loved it.
Justin, to your point, like where those pivot points that I saw as opportunities were.
Just to let you know, that was our 5-minute bell that just went off.
I'll be brief.
Be brief. We got to pivot to Tanner too.
It's providing exactly that, as Tanner says, some rationale for your decisions of, hey, we decided to put our engagement point with our digital engagement point up on the wall, and showing rationale of why did you choose not to use existing technology, a phone, the laptop, or whatever the case may be, and showing the rationale behind that decision of, hey, we do this because that's a specialty for the company. This is something we already do. It's in our wheelhouse, whatever the case may be. Showing those, and that's where that defense of your design comes into play, and saying this is why we made the decision. This is due to the operational context of our product or our user profiles. This is who it's for, and this is what resonated most with those users we identified are going to be our main market. That is where I was looking to see as an opportunity here of, hey, this is who it's for. This is what they have deemed as a priority. So that's ranking those requirements you listed in the beginning of when you're running those trades analysis on your concepts, of saying these are all valid, but this is what meets my user profiles best and best concept for those. And that's how you can say, this is how I drill down. So excellent. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And I mean, I'm gonna let Tanner weigh in too. He's our ME. My thoughts, and I mean, now that we're gonna pivot over to you and have you pipe in, feasibility. Like, we're talking about this. It's a cool thing. I know Tati's going, oh no, but I'm just like, okay, we come up with this cool concept. So, engineering, we pass this all on to you. What happens when you see it hit your table?
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's part of what I was thinking about. I love it. Let me start with that, Tatiana. I think it's fantastic. It's funny. I actually did not similar. I shouldn't say it's similar. It's the same function, the same job to be done when I was in a graduate program. it was a fridge design. It was something to do with that. We took a different approach, but I loved, and I would echo the comments about showing what job you're trying to accomplish. What are the people going to hire your fridge to do? And I think showing that narrative, showing that story is a big part, and showing the connection between how that job lends itself to the design. What are the functional requirements they're trying to do, and how do you going through the different design parameters to incorporate that. Now, the things I would comment on from a feasibility standpoint, things you might want to consider is, once again, as a concept, I think it's great. It's getting into those nitty-gritty details, and maybe that's further down the road, but understanding, okay, so something simple like thermodynamics. I gotta have, if it's a refrigerator, I gotta have space for the compressor. I gotta have space to be able to get the heat out of the fridge and dump it to somewhere else. Where is that going? How is that sound? Is the sound too loud? Do I have enough space for that? How much, cooling do I have to achieve there? Another thing, just a small thing, you talked about the coolest items being up on top. How do you control the thermodynamics throughout the fridge? Are cold items better to be on bottom because cold air, goes to sinks and hot air rises? But how do you separate those? How do you control that? Can you show, that it is controllable? And then the last thing I would mention is relating to what's the cost to the customer? Not in the sense of like monetary, but maybe what's the social cost? Is this something that's going to have to pop into? Now I got to talk fast, huh? No, what's it gonna? How's it going to fit into their environment? So everything I saw, fantastic, beautiful renderings and pictures, but it all seems like it stands alone. How does this fit into? Is it fitting into a standalone space, or am I going to have to go kind of reconfigure my kitchen area, dining area to make this fit? Does it fit under a countertop? Does it not? That kind of stuff. So I think sometimes even taking it a step back from the details and being able to show a larger picture of how this is going to fit into somebody's environment helps with conveying the emotion of, oh yeah, I can see this in my kitchen. I can see this in my space that I'm wanting to use it. So a few thoughts. Well done. Really
Excellent.
done.
Well done.
I hope everyone watching is now aware of these are the questions that are going to be coming down the pipeline. When you present yours.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Hey, I tell you what, Tati, great job. Overall, hey, we hit the timer. There we go. Way to wrap it up, everybody. We appreciate all of your feedback and all of the useful information that you've shared with Tati. I hope that none of us have shattered your dreams, because you deserve a round of applause and have done a very good job. These are very, very important things to ask ourselves as we try and take our work up to the next level. And hopefully you've gotten a few different variables that you can take away with it. That being said, the name of the show is The Variable, because all of us are a culmination of our experiences. We've always had some kind of a mentor take us under their wing and share their one secret sauce, their thing that says, hey, if you just do this, it's going to make a difference. So will you do us all a favor, Tati, and share with us, what is your secret sauce? What is your variable, the thing that you keep doing that helps you be successful and be who you are?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for all the comments. That was brilliant, and thank you so much. I will definitely apply that to my pitch and for my presentation as well.
Yeah.
But I would say that what drives me as a designer, and I think it's the secret sauce, as you said, it's thinking about culture and behaviors. I think that's the way we understand how people interact with the world and with the things that we are creating. So thinking about culture and how our identity as society and human beings actually impacts on the things that we create and the things that we use on our daily basis.
Focusing on culture and behavior. Oh, go ahead, Andre.
And that definitely reflects in your work. I think that is absolutely part of your fundamental ethos.
Yeah, a lot of effort has been put into doing that. Well, everybody, we want to give you one last opportunity. If you haven't smashed it already, go down there and smash the subscribe button. We appreciate all of you guys. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out www.patreon.com/thevariabledesign to make a contribution. It helps us to continue doing these awesome things like this. Continues to enable us to bring in our awesome friends like Andre Koten. We want a special thanks here. Let me point the right direction. Special thanks to Andre Koten for joining us as co-host on our live broadcast. You guys are always welcome to hit me up. Info@thevariable.design if you guys have questions. If you would like to participate on our next student spotlight, make sure you check out thevariable.design/spotlight. You can submit a self-nomination, or you can, if you're a faculty member, nominate students that you think are doing exemplary work. And if you'd like to be a mentor on the show, because heck, we need more Mentor Mash people to join us, you can fill out that information too, and you'll just simply be added to an email invite list that will let you know when the next one's coming up, and you can accept and show up or not. And that's really about it. So again, thank you all for joining us on the show. We appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next time.